What is up, everybody? It's Madlibs, and for those of you that don't know what's going on, this is a part 2 to this guy's story in my series Awful OCs, where I talk about my terrible old OCs. And you do kind of need the context from the first to understand this one. I mean, you could just watch this one, and I'm sure a lot of you are going to anyway, but if you're not, here's the first one, go watch that one, come back, or watch this one, watch the first one, and then watch this one again. I don't know what you crazy kids do in your free time, but anyway, for those of you who know what's going on and have been following the story, we're just gonna hop right into it. Let's get started. Either way, I ended up changing him into the Soft Boy. His story as the Soft Boy makes a little more sense, and it's actually kind of concise and a streamlined story, you know what I mean? It just goes woo like that, it doesn't go woo. And if I'm being honest, I'm a little disappointed that Closing Code Red made me lose his story. So let's start. Joseph was a scientist. I was still never clear on what science he did, but he did science things. He was Smart Scientist at Smart Science Corporation. In Smart Science Corporation, he was working on bring things back to life because cool things to do. No bother for the ethicalness of it. Ethicalness is a word. Olivia, you're stupid. Why are you letting people hear you like this? Never mind how unethical bringing things back to life could be considered, considering that this country thinks that cloning would be unethical. But I'm not here to argue cloning ethics. He ends up bringing a rat back to life. That's like his first thing. But the rat's eyes turned orange and the fur turned like fucking blue or something. And he was going to present it at the science fair. I actually don't know. I think it was some kind of award thing where he was going to present it in front of investors and get a lot of money for it. However, there was one person in his way. Unnamed woman. Unnamed woman was a bitch, and her dad bought her everything, including science time and science projects. And she didn't like that Joseph's fucking world revolutionizing invention of something that brings people back to life was gonna be a hit. And instead of thinking about the good of society, she just got mad because not even her dad's money could save her from being second place. She tried to go to Joseph with her unnamed bodyguards that I just had around her, I guess, because she's rich. I don't know. But she went up to him and was like, "You better not do this, or bad things." And he was like, "Fuck you and your bad things. I'm gonna do it anyway, you bitch." And she didn't like that. So what happened was the bodyguards and the unnamed woman kidnapped him. They brought him to his own research lab. They tied him to one of the legs of his table, or like they handcuffed him to it or something. And they fucking put all this research in the room and they set the place on fire. And they left some kind of note that it was an accident or like a suicide note. I don't know. They framed it so that it would look like either an accident or a suicide. I can't remember which one. But Joseph was a smart boy and he lived. And his jacket got burnt. That's why his jacket is burnt in the later designs. And he was also a mad boy. So this mad lad, soft boy, science man, smart guy Joseph decided he was gonna get some revenge. He went home. He got a gun. He found out where unnamed woman lives. I don't know how. And this is all happening in like 2 hours, mind you. This is all happening right after his shit got burned down. He collected as much of it as he could. He got his gun. He went to her house. And he knew that she had a daughter. A baby daughter. And he was gonna fucking kill an infant. That was his plan of attack. You killed my research, you killed my baby, my project, so I'm gonna kill your baby. That sounds really bad. But anyway, his plan, like I said, was that he was going to kill her child. However, after he broke into the house and went into the baby's room and had the gun pointed inside the cradle, he couldn't do it. That was the thing, is he looked at that baby and he was like, I can't fucking kill a baby. I'm not that horrible. He was gonna go home. He was gonna figure something else out to get back at her or go to the police. He was gonna do something. But then, unnamed woman's unnamed husband starts coming down the hall. And he goes into the room because he heard something on the monitor. I think he heard Joseph talking to himself is the thing, like debating if he was gonna fucking kill a baby or not. But he goes in and he's like, "Who the fuck are you?" And when you see a strange man in burnt clothes with a gun in your baby's room, you kind of go defensive mode. So he went defensive mode, he starts fighting with Joseph over the gun. And I pulled the old trope of, you know, they're fighting, they're spinning in a circle, they're grabbing the gun, and then the gun goes off. And then the other guy slowly falls to the ground because it shot him in the belly. Joseph ended up accidentally killing her husband. So then he hears unnamed woman screaming and running down the hall. And Joseph is like, "Oh fuck, what am I gonna do?" And he looks at the baby and he's like, "Well, I still haven't gotten my revenge. I should probably still get my revenge while I'm here, because I don't think I'm ever gonna be able to do it again. Because killing her husband isn't enough revenge, I guess. So he kidnaps her baby and like jumps out the window, because it's like a one-story house, and he starts running. So when Unnamed Woman gets there, her husband is dead and her baby is stolen. And she knows damn well that it was Joseph. I don't know how, because if she's this much of a bitch, I'm sure a lot of people want to steal her children and kill her husband. But anyway, he starts running off into the night, and the police start coming after him. And he runs with the child until he ends up at a random, busted up building. A science building, might I add. I don't even know what kind of science building. It was just a big square building made of concrete in the middle of the woods that was for science, I guess. So he goes in and he's like, you know what? Fuck Unnamed Woman. I'm gonna continue my research here. I'm gonna bring the dead back to life, and she's not gonna stop me. And he looked at the baby, and he was like, I should probably give this back. But he couldn't give it back then because he'd get caught immediately. So his plan was that he was gonna wait until everything died down, a few months, maybe a year at the most, and then he'd give the baby back. But that's not what happened. And this is how Will ended up in the story. However, it wasn't Will. It was Wendy. The difference between them is that she is girl. But anyway, long story short, Joseph never ended up returning Wendy to her home because he got attached to her. Because when you're a scientist, surrounded by nothing but corpses and research and, you know, the fucking broken down wilderness, losing your mind all day, having company is important. So he ended up taking Wendy in like she was his daughter, and he ended up basically teaching her that she essentially was his daughter. And he never told her how he got her, how they got there, or anything about her parents. As far as Wendy knew, Joseph was her father. So the rest of the story basically goes the same as the first one. He brings everybody back to life, but the difference between this one is that Joseph is too much of a soft boy. Don't want to kill anybody again. In fact, I was going to have his sort of arc, like backstory arc, be that he went from insanely vengeful, cocky, angry scientist to soft boy. Because he learned his lesson that too much anger and trying to get revenge will just end up in your downfall, which is how he got in the middle of the woods with a random stolen baby, with burnt clothes, and nothing else. So that's why he's so much of a soft boy. Is because he learned from his mistakes as a dickhead scientist. Because another part of the story was that he was real smart, but he was also kind of a dick. Not as much of a dick as Unnamed Woman, but you know what I'm saying. But, basically, the story goes exactly the same, except Butch is an evil bastard now, and he framed Joseph for wanting to kill them even though he didn't. Eventually, everybody finds out that Joseph isn't a bad guy even though Butch tries to make him out to be. But not before this asshole shows up. Yep, this fucking guy, fucking Shadow. This asshole shows up in all these goddamn stories and he ruins everyone's lives. So what do you think he's gonna do to Joseph? I have no idea how he found him in the middle of the woods, because he's not even looking for that. He's looking for his sister so that he can torment her. But he ended up accidentally finding Joseph in the middle of the woods, and he showed up to his house and he was like, hey there, guy. And then Joseph was like, who are you? And then Shadow was like, you look lonely. I'm your friend now. You're so nice. I like you a lot. And Joseph was like, well, I'm very desperate for companionship. All I have is this small child and I don't know how I'm supposed to carry on a conversation with her. And Shadow was like, well, that's what I'm here for. I'm your buddy. And Joseph was like, oh, there's nothing weird about that. Okay, we're buddies now, and I will defend you to the death. That line means a lot later, I promise. But after that, Shadow ends up bringing these other villain people, and is like, yo, Joseph, is it cool if I bring my friends over? And Joseph was like, oh, sure, the more the merrier. I'm so lonely. And Shadow was like, okay, cool, this is Angel. She likes to set things on fire. And Joseph was like, okay, I don't see anything wrong with that. This is Paula. She purposely volunteered at a terrorist organization because she likes them. Okay. And this is Randy. Now, as I've already stated before, and the whole reason that I'm making this video is because Randy and Joseph ended up having a sort of romance going on. And again, I'm sad I had to lose this because I really liked it. Because the whole point was that Joseph was such a sweetheart who just wanted to be friends with everyone, and Randy's this, like, really angry, really tough exterior kind of guy. Get it? Because he's a robot. Haha! Well, he's not a robot, he's a cyborg, but you get the drift. I ruined the joke. Randy is this angry dude who doesn't let anybody in, and the whole thing was going to be that Joseph just doesn't stop trying to be friends with him and trying to be nice to him. So eventually Randy is like, fine, fucking be nice to me, whatever. And then he's like, hey, I actually like people being nice to me. And then he's like, wow, this guy's kind of cute. And then he's like, wow, this guy understands me. I think I love you, bro. And then Joseph is like, bro, more like, I love you too, guy, be my boyfriend. And they were like, okay. They were never actually official, like they never had the title of boyfriends, but it was very clear. They were very much in love. But then something happens, and by something I mean Shadow becomes a total asshole, like he always is. Shadow decides to hold something over Joseph's head, which is Joseph's ex-girlfriend. That's right, Joseph doesn't say gay rights, Joseph says bi rights. Or pan rights, either one. I never really decided which of these it was, but it was one of them. You know what, I'm canoning it now. Joseph says pan rights. There we go. But anyway, Shadow kept saying like, hey, I'll let you see your girlfriend, I know where she is, and she's gonna miss you if you do this thing for me. And I never clarified what the thing he was gonna make Joseph do was, but it was supposed to be really terrible. It was something like, Joseph, if you want to see your girlfriend and if you're really my friend, you'll fucking release an uncurable version of polio. Or like, Joseph, if you want to see your girlfriend and if you're really my buddy, you'll bomb the North Pole. I thought we were buddies, but like, if you don't want to kill all the kids in this orphanage, like, I guess we're not friends. Like, that kind of thing. And he made him do that thing, and the thing betrayed everybody, including Randy. And eventually, after it was all over, Joseph was like, I don't know if I should have done that. I actually have the script for this entire scene, but I'm not fucking reading it. It's terrible. I'll just show you some of the lines. Anyway, he ends up taking Joseph to a graveyard. And surprise, surprise, Joseph's girlfriend is dead. He ends up taking her to her grave, and he's like, ha, I told you could see her again, get it? Because she's dead? I'm such a trickster! And then Butch stabs him in the chest. He actually stabs him in the stomach and then guts him like a fish, but you get the point. And Joseph dies. And then Shadow goes to everybody, and he's like, guys, I don't know what happened. Joseph is dead. And everybody's like, what, why? And he's like, I think he killed himself. He stabbed himself in the belly, and like, ran it up to his heart. He committed that one thing that I can't think of the word, fucking Sudoku. He committed Sudoku. I actually don't remember if Shadow said he killed himself. Either way, he just said he died. And Randy was real sad. And then Randy kills himself and or walks off into the sunset. That was never really established. But, yeah. And then Shadow decides to take Wendy and raise her as his child now. But, yeah, that's the end of the soft boy Joseph. And this is his new design. I'm gonna be honest, I really like this design. I'm very proud of the pose too, especially those legs. You can probably see it in the recording, but I used a bunch of references for this one. I was not gonna do it because I don't like showing references that I'm using on screen, but I really need to get over that because I need to use references more often. Anyway, let me explain his design real quick. It's honestly not too different from the last one, but since this version of him didn't really need a backstory or anything, because when I redesign things for Awful OCs, they don't really have backstories, I just decided to make him like a mixture of the new Joseph and the backstory Joseph, who was just a cocky scientist man. And I mushed them together, and I made sure that I was on a constant diet of Pokemon trainer vibes, because I keep imagining him as a Pokemon trainer, or like some video game character. I don't know why. I'm not saying that this is good enough to be a Pokemon trainer, I'm just saying those were the vibes I was working off of, if you know what I mean. I decided to keep the hair on the eyes because I thought they were really cool. I made him wear a turtleneck because he's a fucking nerd. I gave him a flappy jacket that's not all burnt up because I don't know how to draw burnt clothing yet. And I gave him some slacks and a cool clipboard. I actually don't know which design I like better. I mean, I really like how slick the new one is, but the old one had a little more personality to it, if you know what I mean. I don't know. Which one do you guys like better? Now, unlike most of the old Code Red characters I redesigned, I drew this one more than once. For all you thirsty motherfuckers, I drew some Randy and Joseph ship art. Here it is! I've made up a few scenes, if I'm being honest with them, based on this comment that somebody wrote in my old Randy script when I mentioned their relationship. And I really like this. I actually really like this idea. I really like this couple. I just like the story, the dynamic, the everything. In fact, I think that maybe this couple would be able to hold up in a standalone story, like a webcomic. Maybe a romantic webcomic. Maybe written by me. But I don't know, I'm not usually one for romance stories. Unless... I'm only half joking. I gotta finish the first episode of the Calafia series before I try to work on anything else. That is #1 priority. But that doesn't mean that this isn't out of the picture. I hope you guys like this. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, definitely don't forget to subscribe and join the madness. See ya!